Welcome to the How Did That Work Out podcast, where we share, explore, as well as inspect internally and externally a variety of our life situations as well as others, all for the purpose of answering, how did that work out? I'm your host, Mike J.
And I'm your host, Graham.
Let's get into this.
When I was, let's say I was 22 or 23, I was waiting tables and bartending, and this really young country guy, sweetest, big, stocky, just unexperienced, I think fresh out of high school or something. And he came in at the end of the shift, and I was checking everybody's money at the end of the shift, counting it, making sure it matched up to their, head waiter duties. And I was like, "Hey man, how's your night?" He's like, "Oh man, I just can't work with that manager, goddamn Michelle." And I'm like, "What? What's the deal?" "She's just always picking on me, blah blah blah." I go, "Hey man, look at me. I go, don't you ever let one person determine if you're going to have a good night or a bad night, or if you're going to like your job or not like your job. She's one person. You work with 200 people here." I go, "Brush that shit off." And I had no idea I had that kind of wisdom inside of me at that age. And I had no idea that landed with him. He came back to me weeks later and was like, "Man, thanks for that. That really helped." So, again, it depends on the industry you're in, depends on how old you are, depends on if that's going to stay in your permanent record. But if it's just this nuanced thing, it's an opportunity. And you've kind of already said this. It's an opportunity for you to grow, and you better embrace it, because otherwise you're just running away from yourself.
And yet you at younger age, wasn't like you're a babe in the woods, but at that younger age, you may have helped prevent somebody from making a rash decision that could have had negative consequences down the line. If you hadn't said something, it may have instilled in him that it's okay the minute you don't like something, you just leave. And yet you gave him another perspective, something else to look at, which is, wait a minute, that's one person, in a group of many, like many. And so I think you also maybe imparted on him the value or the benefit of having a thicker skin even.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Yeah, because, again, context, restaurants are so volatile. You've got to be thick-skinned, otherwise you'll be crying in the corner every other minute.
Well, because it's such a public-facing type of industry, right? That if a coworker doesn't bring you down, then there's always a customer out there that surely will.
Yeah, intentions are high. People want their food in front of their face that minute, and everyone in the restaurant is scrambling to do that. So
yeah,
that timeline you were going down, 80s and 90s. My mom years ago, I feel like it was a couple decades ago, mapped it out for me. And I don't know what prompted it or what, but she said, yeah, her parents' generation typically got one good job and stuck with it for life. Maybe changed jobs once, maybe, right? And then her generation, born around the 50s, they might have 3 jobs, 80s, 90s, things are getting a little crazy. And she's like, your generation, at least 5. And again, this was, I think, decades ago. And I look now and I'm like, yeah, there'll probably be a dozen on there by the time I slide into my Florida room.
For more HDTWO content and the latest show updates, like and follow our Facebook page, HDTWO Show, Instagram account @HDTWO Show, and subscribe to our YouTube channel @HDTWO Show. Don't forget to tell your friends.